Hey guys, it's Dad with Dad's Guide to Adulting. I hope you're doing well and that you're having a great day. Today we're going to continue our Rules for Living section, and we're going to be talking about something over which you have total control, which dramatically can affect your own happiness, and which makes a huge difference in how people view you and how you view yourself, and that is your attitude. What do I mean when I say your attitude? Well, I really sort of mean two things. Number one, I mean your outlook on life and the way you perceive things, and number two is how you react to them. Are you determined to be cheerful and upbeat and friendly every day and look for the best in other people and around you? Or do you wake up grumpy and basically either decide to stay that way or find yourself staying that way all day long? Do you wear a scowl or a frown all day long? Do you sometimes hear people say, "Boy, it's nice to see you smile for a change"? Is resting bitch face your most comfortable expression? I learned that one from my kids. Well, if that's true for you, there is something else you can do about it. Attitude is everything. It colors how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about other people. One of the things that's important to recognize from the outset is your attitude is something that you yourself can completely control. You can't always control your circumstances or what happens to you, but you can control your attitude. Part of our frustration actually comes from trying to control things that we can't control. If something goes badly, you can either choose not to let it get you down, or you can start whining and complaining. If you decide to go the latter route and start whining, you ruin not only your own mood, but the moods of everybody else around you. Remember, happiness and grumpiness are both contagious. Which one are you going to bring today? Abraham Lincoln once said that in my experience, people are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be. That is great advice, and really does suggest that you can control how happy you are. Your attitude is everything. Make a conscious decision every day to try and have a good attitude. So why is this important, and in what parts of your life does it apply? Well, there are really three things. Number one, in your personal life with your family and friends. Number two, in your professional life when dealing with your job. And number three, believe it or not, in politics, when you're talking to other people about politics and having political discussions. So let's briefly talk about each one. First, on your personal life. Stop for a second and think about this. Is there somebody in your personal life, whether it's a family member or a friend, that whenever they walk in the room, you instantly feel better? They bring a calm, a quiet, a happiness and joy to everybody around them. Well, if there is, it's probably true that that person has a wonderful attitude. The person in my family who did that most consistently was my late stepfather, Kep. Kep was a wonderful, generous, patient, kind man. He would spend hours listening to anybody talk if that made them feel better. And he was always up for doing anything, whether it was playing mini golf or playing games with his grandkids, or going on a boat ride, or mashing up strawberries for a homemade dessert, or just sitting in the living room having a scotch with his family. He was up for anything. It was all good with him as long as he got to be with his family and friends. He was not the kind of guy who ever argued. When anybody proposed something to do, he'd say, "No, I'd rather do this." He was always enthusiastic. One of my favorite photos of him is this one, clasping his hands as somebody in our family was suggesting that we go do something. Wish I could remember what it was, but the truth is, it really didn't matter. Whatever the suggestion, Kep was up for it. He had a wonderful attitude and he made life better for all of us. Who does that for you in your family? Do you have somebody? I sure hope so. Do you have a friend who does that for you? Who are you always happy to see show up? Who makes you feel better every time that they're around? And isn't that in part because they have a positive attitude? So why don't you stop for 1 second, pause the video, take a few minutes, and think about what it is that makes those people special and why you like to be around them. I'm guessing that a positive and cheerful attitude is a major part of that. Then stop and ask yourself this: what can I do to bring that to other people, to become that person, to become that source of comfort? How can I try to become the person that brings joy to other people? It almost always involves having a better attitude about everything. You will become a better son or daughter, brother or sister, father or mother, and you will become a better friend. So let's talk secondly about your professional life and what attitude does there. It's very important to have a positive attitude in your professional life. It plays a huge role in the impressions that other people have of you. Many of those people are going to be people whose opinions are going to matter to you because they have control over things like promotions and assignments and your career development. So you want to make sure you have a good attitude when you're dealing with your bosses, your coworkers, your customers, and your clients. Here's just sort of one example. Think about how much happier your boss is when he gives somebody an assignment and that person responds enthusiastically and cheerfully dives into it, looking forward to getting it done, rather than somebody who is grumbling about having to do the work. If you are the employer and the boss, and if you're not now, well, because you're young, someday you will be, which person's more likely to get the promotion? Which person is more likely to get the raise? and which person is more likely to get fired when the business starts to go badly through tough times and they need to make cuts. I'm going to give you one brief example of a young person I know who has done a wonderful job of demonstrating a positive attitude, and that's Summer Collins, the video editor for the Dad's Guide project. Summer is going to have a very bright future. She has got professionalism, talent, and she's always enthusiastic and has a fantastic attitude, even when I make constant bloopers and have to redo these videos over and over again. Do you wear a scown? A scown? What the hell's a scown? Try to approach every job like she approaches her work on this project. Dive into it with enthusiasm and make it better. Finally, let's talk a little bit about politics. Attitude is extremely important when engaging in political discussions and debates. I'm going to talk about that more in our section on politics and government, but I do want to make a couple of quick points here. One of the bad things that often occurs in our political discourse is when we judge people too quickly after just hearing a few things about them. When we hear, for example, that someone supports a stronger immigration policy, people tend to jump and say, oh, that must be just another crazy racist. Or if we hear somebody supports taxing wealthier people and giving more benefits to the rich, we write him off immediately as a bleeding heart liberal. It's way too easy and way too common for us to quickly become suspicious of each other and assume the worst of each other. Oftentimes, we also do that on the basis of very superficial information. We don't know much. We hear only one or two sentences about somebody, and we've already decided who they are and what they believe. A major starting point on fixing that is to change our attitudes. Be patient. Hear the whole story before coming to conclusion. Recognize that people may hold liberal positions on some issues and conservative positions on others, and that's perfectly okay. Don't attempt to pigeonhole people into your sort of preconceived notion of who they should be just because they hold a certain position. Hear them out fully, respect their opinions, and then require that they do the same for you. Have an intelligent discussion with both sides actually listening rather than just waiting to talk. Another way that changing our attitudes can help is to avoid immediately moving from a position where we are attacking a position or an idea to attacking the person who holds that idea. It's fine to say you disagree with an idea or you disagree with the policy position. You can even use some rather aggressive adjectives like it's stupid to describe it, but be very careful that you don't then describe the person as that. Well, as soon as you start moving into attacking the person rather than the idea, you can no longer have an intelligent conversation. The conversation quickly falls apart into insults, and no one can have a good debate when that happens, and no one wants to hear it. In addition, as a practical matter, if you have a lousy attitude and you start attacking the person right off the bat, just because you disagree with them on one issue, you may find that you just lost yourself an ally who would have agreed with you on most of the other issues. There are no two people on the planet who agree exactly the same on every issue. So if you start attacking and criticizing people who agree with you on one, you may very well lose friends and nothing will get accomplished. Your generation has a wonderful opportunity to sort of change the pattern that has gone on for a long time in politics and to try and have a more intelligent and thoughtful conversation with each other about policies. But it's going to have to start with us all changing our attitudes about how we approach that conversation. Work on improving your attitude every day. Take it one day at a time. When you wake up in the morning, remind yourself, today I'm going to have a good attitude about everything. I'm going to smile at everyone I meet. I'm going to be tough, thick-skinned, and I'm not going to let slights or annoyances bother me. I'm going to meet problems and adversity with cheerfulness and with determination, and I'm going to look very hard to try to see the good in everybody I meet. And, very importantly, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to whine, or as Kep would have said, because he was from England on the other side of the pond, the other side of the Atlantic, no whinging. Keep that positive attitude no matter what comes your way. So, we'll see you next time. Until then, remember, you got this.